All right. It is live, so feel free to start whenever.
I got the owner of Mojo Burrito. She's about to be a client, and we're gonna do that. She's gonna work with me on Chattanooga FYI. She wants to get all over that. Yeah.
So you don't have to go into each one.
So, why did everyone bring their laptop?
This is just how these meetings go.
Okay, I was like, I'm gonna ask the really stupid question.
Usually, while we're doing this, people will be working on something else, listening in.
I guess because
And sometimes hands-on things like Bob's issue kind of help each other out.
Not only do we do this, but we're also support group.
Right.
Which, speaking of, I'm Adam. I'm Drupal addict. There you go.
Drupal and Linux addict.
Drupal Linux BSD Floss addict. Thank you.
I'm not sure.
Well, we ready?
Yeah.
Lee is still out grabbing his beer.
Oh, okay. Well, we will wait on Lee then.
Okay.
All right, so
Cheers.
Adam and I are going to kind of hit off of each other on this one. I've got a few things that I've been using the rules module for over the last really couple years, and I can show some examples of how I'm using that, and actually I'm also using the API to do some custom stuff. The first thing, I want to make it a admission of guilt, and there's a reason for that. Hey, Sean. The first example I'm going to show you is we use this install for managing adjuncts at the college, and Chattanooga State hires lots and lots and lots of adjuncts because we don't have to pay them benefits. So the problem is when they come on board, we have to create user accounts for them. But our policy is we don't leave those accounts active. So if they teach one course and then they leave the college, then we have to deactivate their account. So the way that we were keeping up with that up until about a year ago, we had a horrible spreadsheet, and we kept track of all of those people. We'd send the spreadsheets out to the individual departments. They'd tell us if the adjuncts were coming back for the next semester, and it was a horrible mess. So we sat down and tried to figure out how to make that a better process and a little bit more automated process. So what we came up with was a Drupal site, and that Drupal site gets populated with all of the potential adjuncts for an upcoming semester. And then we used organic groups to make groups associated with the different departments. And then we have our department users. They're supposed to be deans, but they end up being the department secretaries, can go in, log into the site, look at the list, and then they actually can enable or set the next expiration date. So for instance, if we currently have an adjunct for this semester, they can go in and they can say, okay, their next expiration date would be, I think it's July of 2016. So when that date comes, they hit their Active Directory expiration date and their account is not accessible anymore. So then the next semester comes around, we reload the system, they can go in and they can re-enable them for the next semester. That way, we don't have to touch, IT services doesn't have to touch those accounts. Where before we would have to get the list and then we'd have to go in one by one and change that expiration date. So what we've done is we've used rules to actually a custom rule in action to go through and automatically expire those accounts. So the admission of guilt is that when I was developing this thing, I had a test server and a production server, and we had it running for a while, and it was needing to make a change. Well, the problem is on the test server, it still connects to the live Active Directory system. So I was doing a mass test of our users. So I'd finished my test. I go to lunch and I get a text from my boss, and she says, hey, there's like several hundred adjuncts and their accounts are all expired. Do you know what's going on? And it finally dawned on me what had happened. In the test system, I had the Active Directory function turned off, but when I resynced the code back up in Git, it re-enabled that function. So all of these accounts got expired. Now, fortunately, we were able to use the same application to go back in and figure out, thanks to Drupal and it actually updates the nodes. So we could look at the date and go, okay, this is when it happened. We could pick all of them in mass and then put them back the way they were. So it was like, 2-minute fix, but it's just, it goes to show the power of, of some of this stuff. The rules can be very, very helpful, but it can also give you an aw crap moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where I had one recently where I thought I was being smart and having it automatically do kind of like an abandoned cart thing, because there's not really a good abandoned cart module in rules or whatever. So, but I didn't have it configured right or whatever. Next thing I know is every 3 hours, every customer I have is getting an abandoned cart email. Every time
Nice.
I was running.
What's going on?
So yeah, I hear.
So
That's some space.
the lesson to be learned is rules can be dangerous. Be careful.
Yeah.
So
Bigger nuke test.
yeah.
Hey
So-
Bill, I'm not seeing your presentation on the Hangout.
Huh.
You're
I'm
not?
just seeing the d7rules.dev code. Now see me.
Oh, really? It should be feeding off of that one.
Because it's seeing it.
There we go.
Okay, so the stream is getting that one, but for some reason you're getting a completely different set. Okay,
Oh.
so I'm gonna have to do double video switching.
Fancy.
Yeah,
I lost it again.
yeah. So, okay, that's gonna have to. Okay,
Should I soldier on?
yeah, continue on.
All right. So let me share this tab. So I'll show you what this application actually looks like. And basically, it's just a big list of people, and you can see the little icon on the right is their status. So what you can do is you can pick. We use bulk. What is it? Bulk.
Video.
VBO.
Views bulk operation.
Yeah, we use that to change.
How?
What? The little icon?
Yeah.
It's just
awesome or something?
yeah, it's just a font awesome.
Okay.
I can show you how to do that
That's a
later.
beautiful looking admin thing.
So if I go in, I can go and change account status, and I picked all of these, so it's gonna take freaking forever. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have done that. Go back up. Yeah, because when the users log in, they only see their department, so they may only have a 50 or 60 each. So let's say I pick this many. It's still going to take forever. There we go. So then we pre-populate an end date, and this is just a test system, so it doesn't have real dates in it, but we put you can't see that, can you?
Not on there because you're doing tab casting.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
But it's coming across on the screen.
Yeah. So anyway, you pick a desired expiration, you go through, and then it'll ask you, do you really want to do this? And then for as many people as you've selected, then it'll go through and it'll set the account expiration. You can also disable accounts, so they can go in. If an adjunct's troublesome or something, they can actually disable their account. But we put it off on the departments to handle, so that IT doesn't. We can monitor, but we don't have to touch every one of those accounts. So the way that I set that up I've got a rule in here, and it's in the inactive. It's in the inactive section because I'm paranoid. I don't want to have happen the same thing that had happened before. So it's this adjunct 80 activate. That's the actual rule, and it's a custom rule. So what I've done, I've gone in and I've set up through the rules API, I've set up a custom action. And what happens when you set up that custom action, you can populate these extra fields in the custom action. So you can see like it's pulling a node from, or it's pulling fields from my node that contains all of that user information. So you can actually go in here, go back to my other tab here.
Yeah, since if you're going to do that, switch to the desktop.
Yeah.
What was the action that you took to get to there, though? Was it like set a
The
data
dot here.
value or something?
Yes.
And then full window experimental.
Yeah.
It may take a minute because the Chromecast is now preset. So, while we're doing intermission, what was your question?
I was just curious. I mean, what was the action you were taking? Well, never mind.
Interesting.
That was interesting.
Yeah, it looks like it's resetting. The Chromecast just had a brain freeze.
Try again. How I got to the rules screen, is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I was just curious what kind of action you were taking to get to that particular, where you could actually pull in tokens like that. So
Yeah,
I think
if I can get to that, if I can get to this next.
yeah, don't worry about it.
Well, that's actually the next thing I'm going to show.
Okay.
So, cast full window, click on our Chromecast now,
Oh, yeah.
and then just do an entire screen. Okay,
There we go.
now drop downs will work.
Yeah. Okay, so the way that I was able to get that custom action, I wrote this module using hook rules action info. So what that does is you can actually specify the fields that you want to pull, and that's what this code does.
Gotcha.
So you saw that like field username, I'm actually creating a place to put that node field into in the custom action.
Gotcha.
So this part, that's what lets you configure the custom rule. Then
So when you say
this-
custom rule, you really meant custom rule.
yeah, so then but there's an API for it. There's a hook for specifically for this purpose. So then the action, this is the actual action. This is what's actually doing the AD work. And I'm only showing you two pieces of my whole code because there's a lot of stuff in there that's not really relevant to our discussion tonight. But this is what actually makes whatever action you want to have happen. So in this case, I'm passing through these fields into my unlock user function, and that unlock user function is talking to our Active Directory system at the school and saying, all right, I want to reset the expiration date for this user account, or expire it. That's what this part up here is for expiration. But it just goes to show there's a lot of flexibility. And yeah, we could probably do this in other ways and skip the whole rules, functionality. We could probably just write a custom module specifically to do this, but I chose to do it this way because I didn't know any better at the time. So anyway.
And that's a valid approach.
Yep. So that's one example, and just to show you that you can kind of do almost whatever you want with rules. But then the other thing that we're currently working on, we have a lot of forms that that we use that have some kind of workflow attached to them, an approval system. So this one, we're using flags and rules together to accomplish a task. So this one has a lot of rules, but basically what it allows us to do is we can take this request form, and I'm going to cheat and fill it out with a I get tired of filling these out when I'm testing them, so so this particular thing is,
You're gonna have to share that extension.
I can do that. This particular application or particular form is for requesting additional access for our ERP system on campus. So basically we have different sections of that ERP and not everybody can have access to everything because of separation of duties, and they basically don't trust us. So anyway, this used to be a paper form that we're converting to an electronic form. And for each of these areas, advancement, student, finance, human resources, Argos, and UC4, there's somebody that has to review those requests and approve them. They don't all come through IT services. So again, we were in the situation where we have to touch a lot of stuff and be the go-between for a lot of stuff that we really weren't responsible for. So the department has to approve the request, but then we actually have to give the person access based on what the department says is okay. So this is kind of a complicated workflow that we wanted to try to simplify. So once you make this request, Rules routes the request to the appropriate department. It sends them an email saying, hey, you have a item in your workflow to, and I don't have email working on my local install here, so that's the reason for the error. But it basically says, hey, you have something to review and request, or review and approve. So let's say if I'm in the student department, I see I've got one pending, so I go to my student request and I can view the item, and this tells me what the request is about, and then I can go down here and I can approve or decline. So based on approve the request or decline the request, then I have a rule that looks at what to do for each of those, actions. So if I go into rules, we can see under the hood what's going on. So like for advancement, when I submit a new request, I'm specifying, after saving a new content type of IMV request, look to see if it's from advancement, and then send an email to all users that have the advancement approver role, and then it sends an email out to that person. And then each of these other ones do, basically what they say they do. But based on all of those, I mean, in some of these cases, I'm using a node has been flagged. So when you click that decline button, if I click a decline button and it's a finance request, then it's actually, in this case, it's doing a page redirect, and it goes to a form that says, are you sure you want to do this? And then you have to type in a reason for the decline. And then that gets emailed back to the requester so they know, hey, I
Fix this.
yeah, well, you're not going to get access, or you need, either we don't want to give it to you, or you need to do this and this and this in order to get the, in order to get the approval. So again, these can be as complicated or as simple depending on what your needs are. Anyway, that's basically all I've got.
Yeah, we use rules at work to send about 150 automated emails a day for people to sign up for various hospitals,
things.
mailing lists.
Is there a way to do that and make sure that, say, if it sends an email to somebody, Joe Schmo or whatever, that it doesn't come back and send it again on the next cron interval, like mine tends to do? Is there a way to flag that as yes, it has received a?
We just put a field in place to change the value.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
log the node ID for every email that's sent.
Oh, okay.
So and just make it a comma separated
Yeah.
value, and then that you check it, you pull it down, check it, and that way you never send the same email twice. Because we have a drag and drop views interface so that they can have 25 different emails they send off templates.
Right.
And if they move one up or down, and somebody else is already in the system and they're rolling through the cycle, they'll never get the same email again.
I also have
That's interesting.
I also have some rules in here that, based on one flag, it makes another flag that nobody ever sees, and then I have another rule that looks and goes, oh, if this is flagged,
That
don't
flag-
send them an email.
That's great.
So you could do, I mean,
Yeah.
the flags and rules work together pretty
Yeah, they
well.
Yeah.
That's-
You can do a lot of cool stuff behind the scenes with flags too.
So rules can create a flag, I guess. Or,
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or I
I
guess
mean,
it-
you
it-
have
it-
to
it can cer- I
you
guess
have to
it-
have the flag available
But rules
first,
can trigger.
But-
but
yeah,
but
okay.
rules can trigger another flag. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That would do it.
Yeah, they're the two together are pretty
And if
convenient.
there's not already an action exposed to rules that you need, it's pretty trivial to add in a custom action to rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, our system's set up to run and at midnight, or it checks for, it's a drip cycle. So that in 7 days, somebody gets a new email. So it does calculation for the date. If
That's
they've
cool.
not received it, if they're not sending
Yeah,
it.
because the flag's going to have a time stamp.
Well, no, this is just
associated
time
with it.
stamp, last email sent.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, for this one, we have. Let me go back to the. This isn't in production yet, but we're working on it. This actually has. That's what you see. There's 0 days, 0 hours, 5 minutes since record creation. That's mainly for me, but we have. There's a request in there. You can say. This account's to be canceled. You know, it's like a job termination or something, or a department change. And we're saying that once someone makes that request, there's 2 weeks before we terminate that account, just in case that person rescinds their, you know, their department change, or, but we're working on some timing so that after 2 weeks, it'll actually dump that, you know, dump this request. So anyway.
It's nice of an admin thing.
Thanks. They all look the same because they all have to look like the main site. So.
Yeah.
Which is going to change.
Yeah, which means I'm gonna have to change all my stuff. That gorgeous logo. Good job, Sean. Okay, can I rip on a logo real quick?
Sure.
I know Hunter didn't do this, so.
Okay.
That one?
That's hiding.
I really don't like that logo.
Did you see
Nice.
the
And I had to put it on our site.
Did you see the was it chat sync or whatever?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
It's not so bad.
It's better than
It
what
actually turned out better than I
was.
thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was really bad when she first did it.
Heidi did a horrible one. I think
Oh, is
Ned
this the
did
one
this
that
one.
did this one?
I
That
put
should say AOL keyword.
I
like
put
your
it-
key.
I hated it so much that I had it down here at the bottom, and I got a call this morning. They said, "Can you move that up under the search box?" I'm like,
Yeah,
crap.
but people
Knew it was gonna happen.
So who
And
did that?
I didn't want to. I didn't want
Was it
to.
somebody
It's
who
the
worked
at
library.
Reason?
No, it's the library said that marketing developed that for them. So
Fiverr.
That's one thing I wish we could stop is people just doing whatever they want to do.
yeah,
Hunter's experienced that really quickly.
yeah.
He's like you know, whenever we were hired and we would go through the whole like trying to filter stuff down and get and trim the fat of the whole website. That's what he's going through. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I went down a rabbit
He's
hole.
learning quick why Sean left.
It's like GeoCities.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't you have just have a Geo? Somebody was telling me they have a they got to replace
That's
a GeoCity website.
evil.
I'm like, really?
I'm replacing a Yahoo website.
It's not far. It's pretty close.
Considering Yahoo owns GeoCities,
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
they bought them out.
Mm.
Alright, so I guess we'll switch over to my part of it now. So
It's got tiger stripes.
Yes, it
I
does.
just know my eyes are literally terrible from
That's why I really don't like it.
Yeah.
If only whenever
We have to
you
give it
clicked
tiger
on it,
stripes so they know it's
That would be awesome.
This is like the one.
Maybe I should do that.
Outside one.
Fight it. Go with it, right?
Chad brought up. He was wanting to sell the tiger stripes in.
Hey, I could have
There-
animated
There it
flames and stuff on the site too.
from white tiger to
They're 15 years old.
Deidre.
Yeah, because animation
but
is
yeah.
so in.
Yeah, right.
It was like
It was
that.
for org sync,
Org sync.
and they did chat sync, I think, as well.
Oh yeah. I haven't
Tiger
seen that
stripe.
logo.
It pretty much looks like that.
It's just like that.
Except without the tiger stripes.
No,
No, it has tiger
Oh,
stripes.
so it was recycled.
pretty much.
All right, so Lee, are you seeing the D7 rules.dev?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure all that's switched over.
Welcome up.
No, he was muted. All right, so one of the things I was going to show is another way to do a workflow thing with rules, except this one is using Workbench moderation and rules. And then another one is using rules to delete nodes or get rid of nodes after a certain period of time. And then I think if we have time, I'll try to work through the other one you wanted to see of sending out an email to the previous node author before someone updates it.
I'd like to see that one too.
Repeat that?
Figure that out.
So you have a node that's been edited, been either created or edited by a user A, and the user B comes along and edits that node. They want a rule that would send an email to user A saying it's been edited.
Gotcha.
So we'll try and figure that one out if there's time.
Now, are you looking for an approval process? It won't show
Well,
until it's been approved.
I think that might be one step off. Pretty much, if somebody edits it, because multiple people are allowed to edit the same node, we want an email to go to the person who just edited it, so that way they know that it's going through an approval process. If they want to make changes, go ahead and go log back in. and make
Oh, that's more of a workflow thing then.
Yeah, but the thing is to have that email sent. I can't figure it out with rules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That will fall into the Workbench one that I'm going to do then. So that's even simpler than what I thought. All right. So the first one, so we have.
The issue with it is I can't find that person. I can find the person who owns the node, but I can't find the person who last edited it.
Yeah, it would be the current, either the current user or the. I think it should be updating the author when they
I don't
edit
think
it.
it's current user because I'm pretty sure I've tried that I think you did try that multiple times. So we'll see.
So for the using the Workbench, I pretty much just have rules turned on and I have the Workbench moderation turned on. And so for that, to set that up, you just edit a content type, and then under the publishing options, you turn on create new revision and then the enabled moderation of revisions, and then you just set a default. You have 3, it comes with 3 by default, so you have the draft, needs review, and published. So once you enable that, you create content, and for that you just use devel generate because that just makes things simple.
I was gonna say, am I just hearing things? Am I about to stroke out, or is there something
No,
going on?
no, you're hearing the camera doing motion.
There must be people walking in front of that.
Is there a bird up there?
Where's the mute? No, we should have gone away with it. I don't hear.
Tell them my home is unlocked if anybody wants it.
Yeah, it should not beep anymore. All right, so we will generate some nodes, and this one the date doesn't matter, so we'll just do that. And so what led us down to this route is for Oak Ridge National Labs, they had a requirement because they publish things like research information that they're doing. And so they wanted people to be able to go in, put in the draft form that they're working on, and then it had to get sent off to a review process. So when they flag it as need review, the system needed to send out an email to someone so then they can know to go and review that node, and then they could either decline it, send it back to draft saying it still needs work, or publish it. And if it gets sent back to draft, the person that wrote the node needed an email saying it was kicked back. Otherwise, it's all good. So we used rules to hook in and do that bit. So now we have the content. We have about 50 nodes here. They're all unpublished. They're all default to draft. And we can click the edit and just verify that real quick. So if we go to the publishing options, we can see that it's draft. And we don't have the ability to actually truly promote or publish, because it's this. It replaces the publish this or unpublished. So to create the rules, you go into the rules interface. We will start off by creating a content draft review. I'll just cheat. And you can tag it or not. So here what you want to trigger off is, where is it?
The moderation transition.
Yeah, yep, right there. That's it. All right, so you trigger off of that. And so you'd create the events. So what I did for our rules is you can check for the conditions, you can check the previous and check the current value of that. So we'll create an and, so it will check both and make sure both are true. So within this and, we'll add a condition that the content's previous moderation state, and then we'll say the previous was draft. And then add in the second condition saying that the current moderation state needs review. And then we just add in our action. And for here we sent out an email, but I don't want to send out an email, so for the simplicity we'll just do a Drupal message. So we'll say node and then it actually gives you replacement tokens for those values. So if we go into the patterns and scroll down, you can see that there's a token for the previous state and new state value. So we'll just put those in there. That way this can also just become a copy and paste against the other rules, because you need another rule for if it goes from needs review to draft or needs review to published. And then we'll leave this as a status, but you can also set a warning or error. And I don't know if the repeat message actually will make a difference, but we can just turn that off for now. So once we save this, we can come into one of those nodes that was just created. We'll go to this one. And so you can either get to the interface and change the settings from either the edit draft and here, and you can put in a note that will show under the moderation tab and change this, or from the moderates tab, you can actually just kick it over to a needs review here. So I'll just do that real quick. and here's the message that we set in our rule that I just fired. So from here, let's create the reverse, so in case this gets kicked back for more work. Again, we'll add in the AND clause and our two conditions, but basically swapping around the two fields. Yeah, so now with that rule in place, if we were to take this and send it back to draft, we'll get a different message appeared saying it went the other way. And we can do the same for the going from needs review to published, or if you want to say if an article ever goes from unpublished state, you can set rules for that. So integrating those are fairly simple. And I guess for your case of sending out an email, it'd just be a matter of figuring out who all touched it.
The issue is the email, because I don't think there's an available like I have it set up so that way if a user changes it to needs review, Vicky gets an email.
Mm-hmm.
She can look at it. If she publishes it, there's supposed to be an email sent back to the person who last edited it so they know it's been published. That person is non-existent in the available tokens that I can discover, because it's not current, because that person's not current anymore.
I would say what you could do is you can add in a new field that's not displayed and create a custom code that hooks on like a pre-node save and grab the username of whoever's editing it and append it into that field that's an unlimited value. And that way you can probably in the rules grab that field, take the very last value in it, and that's who you need to send the email to.
I think that rules has like a pre and a post value as well if you dig into it. This is what it was and this is what it is when the rule was triggered.
For updating, it has the updated and unchanged ones, but they're not changing the node author or anything. Because if you're changing the node author, you could just grab that and use the email address attached to the node author.
For some reason I have in the back of my head that there's actually a whole node of what it was, and before any change that.
Yeah, one of the items is you can grab the original node.
And then just use
Hold on.
whatever that node author was. I don't
Let
mind
me-
changing the node author. Just didn't know that was an option.
The node, yeah, you'd usually want to update the node author,
Yeah,
but
it doesn't
here.
do it natively, but I don't mind doing that.
I've created a dummy rule based off of my original understanding of what he wanted for that. Let me import that because that has more or better description. Alright. So if I import this, and I'll go ahead and close this out now. So if we edit this rule that I just imported, and we look at, I think it was under here, the data selectors, there was like, in one of the options, there was a node original, and I think that's what you're talking about, Lee.
Yeah, I think so. It's been a while since I put the rules.
Oh, no, it's not. Okay, because I'm triggering off a different. So this is triggering off before event saving. Let me see. You can also trigger on updating. I think that gives better or different options. So after updating existing content, and I'll just drop this event.
So I don't need to do it based on moderation transition.
All right, so the, oh wait, no, it's not condition, it's the action. Let me edit the send mail one then, and go to the message replacements. Yeah, so this node original, that's the node before it was ever touched.
And that was in the action?
Yeah, that's in the action. But that would only really help you if you have a field with the username, either the creator or the node author or some other field that you're manually stuffing the user ID in.
So if I don't mind changing the node author, I can use that.
Yeah, so you can use that, and so you'd use node : original : author, and then you can grab their mail address from that. Because the way it looks, if you look up here, so there's the node : author common mail, and that's the email address on that user account.
So if you did node :
original author,
then it should pull.
Yeah, so that should be the email address for the author before the node was created or updated.
Okay. And it'll actually change it on the node too, right?
Yeah, so this won't change it, but when you node save it and you update the creator, that's when that happens. But then this rule will see the old value for the creator and the new value for the creator. And so the original is going to be the old, and then it's going to put in the new. So then next time someone updates that node, that person's the original creator. That's probably what you're after.
I think so, yeah.
Well,
Because
because then you know who edits it last.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, because it's pointless for her to put it in needs review, or publish it, and then it automatically sends an email to the author of the node when they're not the ones who actually edited it, the
Yeah.
original author.
Mm.
Yeah, right. Which happens a lot.
Yeah, because a lot of them are actually in our name.
Yeah, we
'Cause
created
we
them.
originally created them, but it's like we're not the ones editing them now.
That'd be tricky because when you, for a new node, that, so if you guys are creating new nodes and then someone comes along and updates one, you guys are going to get the original email. That very first email that node generates saying it's been updated is going to go to you guys. Would that be a problem?
We ignore them.
No, I mean, we don't care if we get them. It's just while they're being.
But then after that fact, the second person that ever updates that node, as long as that first person gets the email, it's okay? Okay. Then yeah, I think that may work for you guys
Yeah,
then.
as long as it goes to the person who last edited it, that's the main priority.
Okay.
That it's been approved or published? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so whenever Vicky says, okay, this is published, they get an email saying, oh, it's been published.
Well, if you want published, you still want to act on the node transition going from review to publish or whatever. But then in your action, do that.
Whenever you create it, just put Vicky's
Because if when she approves this, is it put in
gets all
her?
of
Is
them.
it,
It always starts with
Yeah, just spam Vicky's inbox. What else is it good for?
oh, she'll know he did it on purpose.
So that's something.
Somebody knows somebody's updating content.
So this is something similar I could do for my church website, where he actually has a secretary who creates and manages a weekly letter on the website, and I can set it so whenever she saves it, it changes it to his name, so that way it looks like he actually wrote all of these blogs because it's supposed to look like he wrote them.
Basically, can lie automatically.
No, he writes them, but she puts them in.
She puts them into the
I
site.
have a plugin on my WordPress site that I can choose any user and say that they wrote it, even though I'm the one putting it in and publishing it.
Yeah, you can do that in Drupal too. Because if you have the right permissions, you can change the node author. And for the rules, if you want to make it look like it's coming from a special person, for the emails, if you come down here, you can set an email address from the from. So instead of coming from whatever the site email address is, you can say like president at Chattanooga State or whatever.
We override ours and just say no reply for a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
no reply is always the go-to.
Yeah.
Because it's a system-generated email. No one's ever going to read it if you reply to it.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's using Workbench moderation with rules. Very simple. Another thing that we've had to use rules for Oak Ridge is those same publications. They've only were supposed to be published for so long, and then they had to be basically disappear from the site. And so for that, there's a nice module called Node Expire. And so that also hooks into rules. So yeah, right there. And the configuring for it, I probably could use a little bit more text or better definitions. You pretty much never want to put it in legacy mode, but you can have it either trigger on every cron run. It'll go through, see what nodes are expired, and needs to be flagged as expired or not. Or you can have it happen only once for a node. And so you can choose between those. You can choose the date picker, because each node is going to be able to override this default, because you set it for the content type. And then you can override that, so you can either be a text field or a date pop-up. And for debugging, you can set it to where it will allow dates in the past, which comes in handy. So here, I had to do a non-standard setup to be able to demo this, because typically you'd set this days, months, or whatever. But here, so you turn on node expiry, and this, it's going to mark nodes as expired after they've been published for a minute. And it's weird that you have to say +1 minutes when you say +3 day, or +3 month, or +3 year.
In this case, does expire mean delete or just
No, expire just sets a flag. The rule is what actually does the other thing.
Okay.
This will just set a 0 or 1 Boolean flag. So if we turn this on, we'll have to blow away all the content I have and create new content, but that's easy to do.
Apparently, rules, not every aspect of it is tracked in features. Because I just updated.
Some of it's probably going to be in strong arms. Some of it you may have to export differently. So we'll create our articles again. Delete all that's already in there. Create that. And here I'm going to allow develop generate to go to create things all the way back to a year ago. So do this, and we'll have 50 fresh nodes. So if we come into the content, and if we actually view one, there's really nothing on what you see to denote if it's expired or not. But if you check the entity, so if we use devel and dump out this, let's see, where is it? Yeah, so expire. This is it shows the date that it's going to expire, And then expired is the Boolean flag that gets flipped if it's expired or not. So now we just got to wait a minute. And I have it set up to run via cron. So if we kick this, I just basically right now I want to see that flag change, and then we can create the rule after that. And it's processing 50 nodes. Cron's going to take a minute. Okay. So if we were to refresh this, we should see that bit change. Yep, this node has been marked as being expired, but we don't have a rule or anything to act on that. It just says, hey, I'm expired. So if we come into the rules interface, and we can create a new rule, and we'll call it remove stale content, because that's just right there and easy. And so the node expired gives us the ability to act on content expired. So we'll select that. Now, one trip up, even though you already told the event is content being marked as expired, you also need to do a condition for that. So condition content is expired, and we want it to act on the node, so we'll save. And as for our actions, if we wanted to delete them, then we can say in the entity delete entity, and our entity is the node in question. So if we save this, it's going to require another cron kick, which I can do from here.
When you set the expiration settings, was that specific to a content type? I don't remember.
Yeah, you set that in the content type.
Okay.
But you can also override it on a per node basis.
All right.
So if we come into here, view contents, nada. We just deleted all of our nodes because they were expired.
That'll get rid of your events.
Yeah.
Quickly.
So that first part though, where you had to set the expiration.
Yeah, so you go to the content type you want to act on.
That's
and
nothing additional. That exists already?
No, that's provided by the node expire module.
Okay.
So you install node expire, turn it on, go into your content type, publishing options, and you enable this option and tell it how long until a node's going to expire.
So configure it on the content type level.
Yes. And it uses the string to time format, so it literally takes in inputs like plus 30 day.
Just like
And that gives you, or plus 1 month if you want to delete things or unpublish things a month after they went live.
In your case, you guys unpublish, right?
Yeah, we unpublished. We didn't
They
delete.
want an archive.
Yeah, so in our case, we marked it as being unpublished, so they would disappear. You wouldn't see it on the site, but the content would still exist. I know you specifically said you wanted to delete nodes.
Yeah, because they're events and nobody's going to reuse them.
We've got
so
3 years worth of things that aren't being used ever
it's
again.
ridiculous.
Images and
I just hate seeing them.
So long as they don't come back later and
But-
say, hey, we need an audit log of all the events.
All the events that we've ever held in the past whatever
we
years.
didn't build that in. Sorry.
But
Tough.
That's not a feature of Drupal.
but so even though we've set that at the
More stuff.
That's from when it's created, right? From when the node's created, not from when it's published.
well, it looks at two different. It looks at not only the created date but the updated.
Can you
So if you once you touch it, it's going to be good for another X whatever. And you can even change that. So here's the node add form, and if you go to publishing, you can even change the date from there.
So okay. So what if you have an event set up in the count, and you say that it happened on January 1st. can you set it up to automatically delete that January 2nd?
Yeah. Although here it don't make sense. 2007
Is that what you're doing right
1
there?
Yeah, that's
02, and then once that date hits and cron runs, that's going to be marked as expired, and that rule will kick off and delete it.
Well, by default, whenever you configure your content type, it's going to automatically create that expiration date.
It will tell it whatever you set in
Like
this.
if you do like plus 1 week, it's going to go 1 week.
Yeah, it will default to a week out.
Week out. Yeah, that's cool.
Based on its, like he said, based on its creation date.
Yeah, it'll be a week from either the creation or the updated. So if it's an existing node that you edit, all you have to do is hit edit and go scroll down and hit save. The updated date's going to be changed, and it's going to be plus a week from the updated date.
So it'd be better to do it a certain time after the event happens,
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking, like-
sometimes we created them 2 months in advance,
Yeah.
sometimes a week in advance. You never
But do you
know.
ever edit them after you create them?
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Sometimes not.
Well, if you do that, you just have to make sure to override that and set that date on that
is
node.
there, is there no way to do it based on the actual event's date?
That's what I was asking.
That's what I would want.
You might have to write
So,
up.
like-
I think you'd have to do a custom hook and rules for that,
So, like-
because node expire won't give you that
Because
option.
you would have to hook into your date picker that you're
Mhm.
in the information that is being chosen.
It probably wouldn't be that bad though.
Not really.
to
It's just
look into that.
it's just telling rules to check an extra field on the
Yeah.
node, and then doing just a date check. If this date is before this date, you're good.
Tell Vicky that we need to collaborate on a project. We'll sit down.
I don't know if there is
Do it
one.
Tell Vicky that we need to collaborate on a project. We'll
Expire
work on
after it,
We'll go
this
sit in the
date
library
that
and
is
do-
in that field.
Tell her we're rebuilding the
Yeah.
website in 16 hours.
She probably
I think
wants-
you would
she
be-
wanted an 8.
I think you'd be fired if you told her that.
No, he laughs all the time because she's in there like talking to me and saying, "Oh,
I started to fall
so
asleep.
when is that
Yeah.
going to get done? How long is that going to take?" And he just sits there like giggles.
Vicky doesn't understand estimations aren't like solid.
I went into her office today to like show her something, and I was like, "Here, just pull it up on Google. Like, I'll show you." And she went to the URL bar and typed in google.com.
Yeah, that's her.
She likes to see the pretty graphics.
Yeah.
She would type in every time she had to go to something.
Hey,
She
give me
would
the search
type-
term. I'm
she
good.
would type it in, and it would all these hints would be down there, and she'd still type out the 35 characters.
Yeah.
That happened too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, she. Bless her. I mean, I'm about halfway between her and him. You know, but she's really bad.
But it's funny because he won't even use a search on her website or like navigate stuff, so he's just like me. But she'll say, click on this, and while she's saying that, he's like going to Google and typing in chat state, whatever. And he finds it through Google before she finishes telling him how to click on stuff.
How to navigate your site.
So I say we replace the search box with "Go to Google, you freak."
No, that's your navigation. Just Google it.
Make sure it's a Google logo.
Make the search bar a link to let me Google that for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whenever we first did this rebuild, we wanted to do, Sean and I proposed, why don't we just have a search page, just like Google, and when you get to our website, you just type in what you want.
A big picture and a search box.
We were going to make a pretty like Bing.
Like
function
Bing.
Google.
When Bing launched, how they had
Oh, because Microsoft totally wouldn't go after you for that.
Just do chat state in all the primary colors. You know, make it look like that wouldn't be a ripoff
We could
at
just
all.
change the logo every week like Google does.
We change it every week.
That would be a fun job.
I feel sorry for you having to design the new chat state
I
logo
would
every
like
week.
All the illustration, all the Google Doodle like illustrations, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That's all you.
Except they have like kids that are sending those in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're drawing them
And the
free
really-
time or
the
school
really
projects.
intense ones where they're all like doing stuff and then it turns into like a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of told him today. I was like, I kind of regret bringing up the idea of like rebuilding some of this stuff now, because now she's asking about it. every
Oh,
day.
is she?
Right down the checkbook.
Yeah.
If
Well,
only.
it's
Well, more for them, it's we need the time.
Yeah.
it's time.
And I told both her and Patty. I said, now I feel that we can take the time to do this and work our way through issues instead of rushing through issues this time, because we're in a new environment that we're not paying 10 grand a year for. So I said, we're not being rushed because we don't have a deadline to get out of a contract or anything, and they agreed to it, so we'll see. I'm gonna have a quota in my mind, and once they break that quota, I'm saying I'm not doing anymore.
Get a proper spec of what all they want the website to do, what all should be in it.
And that's why I told them, I said, I'm going to provide you an outline of what we want to do, and then I'm going to sit down and map out every single minute task that we need to do and estimate what we think it will take. And I told them right out, I said, I'm going to multiply that, what we think it's going to take, by 3, and then that's what I'm putting down on the paper. And they said, okay. So I told them, I said, so if we think it's going to take a week, I'm putting down 3 weeks for that task.
Because it's usually they change things
Yeah.
3-4 times while you're working on it, so it does take that long.
I mean, I'm going to treat them like they're my client. I mean,
Yeah, and
that's all I can do.
if you want to go the extra mile, all changes like that have to have proper change orders, so they need to go through proper steps
So
to get
first you
that.
got to build a proper work order system
Yeah, I know.
for you, for marketing to use to submit to you.
Exactly.
So that'll take
And
probably
that's
a
probably
year.
actually really what it should be.
Yeah.
But we also presented the idea of what you found at Northland, how they separate all their work orders. We really want.
It's nice.
I like that approach better than toggling things on and off, and extra fields show up or disappear based on what they want done.
Well, people still call and you have to walk them through it
Yeah.
every time.
Because, and then they're like, well, we want, if somebody chooses an event, they might want something on the